Hi, Bill. I hope you've enjoyed your day here at NSF Finals. Could you tell us a little bit about your observations today, as well as potential for partnership between NSF and Ashoka?
One thing that's so clear is that the North-South Foundation is itself a demonstration of what change-making does. So Ratnam had this vision, and then he and many others have built this community committed to service and to learning in 90 communities across the country. And you can just see, you can feel the difference it's making in people's lives. Well, that's what change-making is about. Seeing an opportunity, developing the vision, changing the world. Now, we live at a moment where the old system, which was based on value coming from repetition, is dying and is being replaced, is largely already replaced by the fact that the world now values contributing to and adapting to change in fluid teams that are constantly changing and bumping one another. This is not just a different world, it's an opposite world. And any young person today who doesn't develop the skills of being a change maker, practice them, and know that they're a change maker, can't play in the new game. That's the worst. And I think the North-South Foundation and Ashoka are both committed to making sure that every young person is able to make the maximum contribution in the world, the only world we have, a world of change. And so we have to help every school, every youth program, every neighborhood become an everyone a change maker place. And it's a completely natural alliance.
You're widely credited for popularizing the term social entrepreneurship. Could you tell us a little bit more about what it means to be a social entrepreneur?
So let's just, as if I was a member of North-South, take the word apart. So, entrepreneur, that means at least pattern change, not direct service, but pattern change, or mindset change. So that's what entrepreneurs do. A social entrepreneur is a human being from deep within, committed to the good of all, and therefore the work is. And so social entrepreneurship is about fundamental, at least continental scale, pattern or mindset change for the good of all.
Could you tell us a little bit more about what exactly it means to be a change maker and how you motivate and inspire new change makers?
Well, the chief motivation for being a change maker is you get to be a contributor to society. And that makes you a powerful person, a change maker. So what motivates you? Well, if you want to be a good person, a powerful person, to be a part of society, you need to be a change maker. What does it require? It's not very complicated once you get over this redefinition of what's important. Can you see a problem that you care about? Well, there are plenty of problems. There's no shortage there. Can you imagine a possible way of fixing that problem or seizing that opportunity? Yes, you can do that. And then it's a matter of giving yourself permission and being persistent. The only other thing is that lots of people will tell you you can't. And you got to be very nice to them, but ignore them. What they're really telling you is they didn't, and therefore you're going to make them uncomfortable if you do. So be gentle, but ignore them.
And a little more specifically into that question, what can parents do to help aspiring student change makers to support them and nourish them?
When you have let's say a 12-year-old daughter come home, and she says, no one listens to us, this is really irritating. Or the way immigrant kids are treated is really not kind or good. You have a parenting moment that's really important. Put everything down, put your arm around your daughter. I'm really proud of you for seeing this problem. Now, how do you think you could fix it? And draw her out. Oh, that's a really good idea. Why don't you get your friends together and do this? Yeah, you can do this. And this is why it's important. If you want to be a contributor in society, you have to be a change maker. You have to develop these skills. And the only way you can do that is by doing it. Now, she's not ready, probably, because you caught her a little bit by surprise. But you've just encouraged her. You've respected her. And she's going to come back with other observations of things that don't work. And go through the same process. Maybe the fourth time she's going to come with an idea that she's developed, her idea. And then the biggest challenge, don't take over. Don't let her sister take over. Don't let some teacher take over. Now, if you do that, you're helping your daughter make the big jump. Once she has had the experience of her dream, her team, her changed world, she has her power for life. She has the underlying skills. She's brought a whole team of other kids along with her. And she knows that the world is always going to want her because she has the most important skills, the change-making skills. She's going to have a really good life, and you will have just succeeded as a parent big time.
In today's world, AI and automation have become more important than ever. So how does this change the role and relevance of changemakers?
Well, we actually think that the speed up of technology is a function of this underlying change in human organization. As more and more humans are good change makers, and as we're increasingly tied to one another, well, the rate of change and the extent and impact of change accelerates. And the more connected we are, the more important it is to have technology to make that possible. So who invented the technology? It's the people in the new economy, because they need it. And so technology is hugely helpful. We can all have a meeting of people now anywhere in the world and see one another and have it cost basically nothing. This is a very big deal in terms of the world coming together. Now, as things change, we have to figure out how to manage it better. That includes technology. But technology is a major part of freeing us from repetition. But that freedom is a prison unless you have the skills to really be able to contribute and know you're a change maker.
What was your inspiration behind establishing Ashoka? And could you give us a little bit more about Ashoka's vision as well as their youth venture work?
I was blessed by parents who both gave me permission to do things that were not quite so usual, and I had a school principal who tolerated it. So I, in elementary school, started a student newspaper, originally hand-typed with carbon paper. Eventually I saved up and had a mimeograph machine, and this was magical. And, I was totally into this. So I was given the gift of being able to be a change maker. And, once you have that gift, you can do anything, and you want to do more, and you get better and better at it. So we know that if a young person has that experience, they've had a dream, built a team, changed the world, they're going to keep doing that. They're going to have a great life. So I was given that gift. And when you have that gift, you want other people to have it because it's so magical. You can see that over and over again. So Ashoka got started when I was 18, was in India. We had to drive there because we couldn't afford the plane flight. And suddenly the statistics of 100 to 1 difference in average per capita income between the US and India became people I knew, friends. And then, if you're a entrepreneur, you ask, well, what are you going to do? Well, sophomores in college control as close to nothing as possible. So you ask, what's the most highly leveraged way of closing this gap and also of encouraging democratization? Oh, well, the most powerful force in the world is a big pattern change idea, but only if it's in the hands of a good entrepreneur. It's that combination that always drives history in all sectors. So, oh, well, if we were to help great entrepreneurs in the social arena where there are no institutions of support get started and succeed, that would be very inexpensive. We could actually do that, and we'd have this huge impact. So that's where the idea was born, and the second big building block idea came some years later. Well, if we are a community of the world's leading social entrepreneurs, that's so much more powerful than the sum of the individual ones. Then we're creating a field, a concept, a construct, so that everyone can be a changemaker even if they're not going to be a great entrepreneur. So that's where the Ashoka idea came from. It's really very simple. And now we're at a stage that as the world goes through the tipping process from repetition to change, this community of leading entrepreneurs helps us see where the world has to go. And they are very powerful people in the process of change. So this brings us to this meeting and the relationship, the partnership with the North-South Foundation. How does Ashoka and North-South work together to help the world through this transition so no one is left behind? We don't have a large class of people who don't have the skills and can't play.
Is there any other advice, final advice that you'd like to leave us with before we end off?
So we all are asking the questions, why is it that a portion of society is getting more and more of the wealth and another portion is getting poorer and poorer? And we're worried about the fact, also a fact, that us versus them politics is metastasizing, is growing all over the world, spreading. These are universal facts. People tend to think of, it's this or that peculiarity of America or the Philippines. No, these are universal. So what is behind that? As the world splits between people who have the skills of changemakers, and they are having a wonderful time, and they're getting better and better at this game as it accelerates, well, they're contributing more and more wealth, and they're getting more and more skilled. And so there's a bidding war for them. But for the other half of society, they're not in the game. They don't have the skills. They're not welcome. And this is the new inequality. And unlike the old inequalities of race or gender or whatever, this one is not static. It gets worse every year because the people in the game are getting more skilled and the people out of the game are falling further and further behind. So our world has got a choice. Are we going to tolerate this division, which I think everyone in North-South and Ashoka agrees is unethical as well as terribly destructive, or are we going to come together and make sure we don't have people left behind, that everyone can be a giver. Everyone can be powerful, and that means everyone must be a change maker. Now, this is a natural for North-South Foundation. It's a natural for us to work together. And so let's do that. Let's work together to make sure that no one in the Indian American community, no one in any of our communities in India or America or anywhere else is left behind, and we all get to express love and respect in action.
Thank you so much for your time today and coming to NSF Finals.